Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Taking My Favorite Paintings and Parodying Them for the Sake of Art. Today's subject is Cereza and Cheshire from the beautifully designed video game Cereza and the Lost Demon of the Bayonetta franchise. Last year, this game took over my life for a good couple weeks. It came out a day after my birthday, so naturally, that means it's Platinum's birthday gift to me. Obviously. I started drawing this after I completed the game, which didn't take too long, especially because I was just speedrunning through it. I like to go through the story first, and then I go back and unlock the achievements in my own time. I got the idea to recreate this painting by Omar Rayyan, hopefully I'm saying that right, and it's titled The Favorite. I wanted to recreate it with little Cereza and Cheshire. I thought it would be a cute idea. I'd seen this piece around the web, mainly Tumblr, and I've always really liked it. I'm really fond of this artist's style. I love the drama and the contrast of it all. Back then, I really thought an old-timey Baroque artist was just in a silly, goofy mood and decided to paint this, but I was so mistaken. This painting is barely from 2010, but I can definitely imagine it hanging in an eccentric, wealthy aristocrat's chateau in the 1700s. This artist has so many others kinda like this. Very painterly with an element of fantasy, maybe a touch of horror. Their website is in the description, and y'all are in for a treat because the art is just chef's kiss. Anyway, in the video game Cereza and the Lost Demon, we follow the apprentice witch Cereza in her journey through a mystical forest. This is where she summons a demon from Inferno. She isn't able to send him back, so he decides to possess the stuffed animal that her mom made for her. She then gives it the name Cheshire, since that is the stuffed animal's name. They both reluctantly head deeper into Avalon Forest. Cheshire seeks a way back to Inferno, and Cereza seeks for more power to be able to break her mom out of the Umbra Witch slammer. She also keeps getting dream messages from a very mysterious boy. Cereza and Cheshire are bound together, which means that they can't be too far from one another, so that's why I'm drawing them in this way. It made so much sense with my fantasy. So, the pair travel through the forest, following the tracks of a white wolf. Very much like Alice in Wonderland. Before I played it, I had assumed that maybe the wolf was going to be Cereza's Lumen Sage dad, Father Balder, but spoiler, it turned out to be the mysterious boy Lucaon. We actually meet an alternate version of Lucaon in Bayonetta 3, except he's fully grown and he's the king of the fairies. Lucaon himself is also an alternate version of Luca from previous Bayonetta games. So, yeah. Anyways, Cereza and Cheshire follow this wolf, and they encounter a ton of puzzles and enemies. Their main mission is to destroy the 4 elemental cores, each of which gives Cereza and Cheshire elemental powers. I love these elemental Cheshire designs. Looks-wise, my favorite is Water Cheshire. I love the coral-like details and the contrast of the red with the blue. Also, I love what they did with Stone Cheshire. He looks very Art Nouveau, very Gustav Klimt's portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer I. As mentioned before, this game is very puzzly. You have to solve many puzzles to get to where you need to go, while simultaneously moving Cereza and Cheshire. It wasn't all that easy for me. I don't really have the dexterity to bind enemies with Cereza on the left and then attack with Cheshire on the right. My brain just doesn't work that way. As the unlikely duo continue their journey, they start to warm up to each other. Cheshire starts to trust Cereza more and starts to see how powerful she can really be. And Cereza is able to overcome her fears and save Cheshire when he is in trouble. She even sacrifices her long hair to heal a wound that Cheshire got during a battle. According to Cereza's mentor, Morgana, a witch's hair is sacred. That's where all the power comes from, as we've seen in the past. So for Cereza to make such a sacrifice, it was a huge moment. Also, it reminds me of the cultural practice of cutting your hair to signify a transition or a new chapter in your life. This moment was very that. After all the hubbub, Cereza and Cheshire finally find Lucaon. It is revealed that the white wolf was kind of an extension of his soul, but Lucaon's body is actually frozen in the middle of a forest.
But you know, I didn't die, okay? I had crystallized. Oh. And now I'm a glamazon bitch ready for the runway.
He was actually placed under a curse because his father was the Fairy King and his mother was an Umbra Witch. So now we see a connection between Cereza and Lucaon. Both are punished for things that they couldn't control, both separated from their parents, etc., etc. Turns out, Lucaon's curse can actually be lifted. And Cereza is like, oh damn, that's so great, how can I help? And Lucaon drops the bomb that he needs to absorb a demon's essence to break the curse. Obviously, Cereza and Cheshire say, frick that, and they start fighting Lucaon. Homie was desperate, but as they fought, he saw the bond between Cereza and Cheshire, and he started to regret things. After he is defeated, Cereza and Cheshire take him out of the forest back to her mentor Morgana's house. Instead of being relieved that Cereza is okay, Morgana switches it up and reveals that she had actually lured Cereza into the forest on purpose. Not only that, but she also convinced a ton of other young witches to go into the forest throughout the years, which is why we see a ton of little witches encased in crystals while we go through the forest. Quick side note, I thought that the footage that plays after you free the little witch's soul is so cute and sad. Both Cereza and Cheshire bow their heads as the witch's soul disappears. It's so respectful. Anyway, you may be asking yourself, why Morgana?
What was the reason?
Turns out, spoiler, she's Lucaon's Umbra Witch mother. She had been mentoring all of these young witches while sneakily convincing them to go into Avalon Forest in hopes that one of them will summon a demon on the full moon and eventually free her son. It was very insidious. Another side note, I'm really a fan of Morgana's design. Her dress is pretty simple with the spider motifs and all, but it's the hair that takes the cake. I'm a really big fan of this hairdo. She probably casts a spell on it every morning. Also, I like how she kind of resembles Viola from Bayonetta 3. Morgana is her alternate universe grandma after all, and they both share the blonde hair and the same coral blue No. 5 lipstick. I also like the small touch of Cereza gifting Morgana some violets in the beginning of the game, which kinda sorta foreshadows Morgana's connection to Viola. It's nice. Continuing on. So Morgana sees that her son is all but dead, which means that Cereza failed to sacrifice Cheshire for him, and she gets pissed. This boss battle took me so freaking long to beat. I had to use both controllers and actually think about what I was doing. No button smashing on this level. Cereza blindsides Morgana by powering up and using Witch Time for the first time ever. This is where she stops time for a bit to get the upper hand. And finally, the student becomes the master. Morgana is defeated, Lucaon's soul starts to disappear, and before he does, he tells his mother to let him go and to let go of her hatred for the world. Morgana holds her son as he disappears, and once he does, she is then dragged down into Inferno, a fate that awaits all Umbra witches when their time comes. Cheshire takes the opportunity to hitch a ride back into Inferno after saying goodbye and see you soon to Cereza. Cereza, having become braver after her adventure, then leaves Morgana's empty home, hoping to eventually be able to save her mother after becoming an even stronger witch. And I cried. Having prior knowledge of the Bayonetta games, I knew that Cereza wasn't going to be able to save her mom completely in this game, but damn, this ending was pretty bittersweet. I like that we got to see how she went from scared little baby child to confident kick-ass adult. At the end, we can already see her don her iconic beehive hairstyle that we first see her in Bayonetta 1, so that's a real treat. And as you play through and gather different achievements, you get different costumes. I do prefer her regular apprentice look though. It's very cute and the hair just brings it all together so well. I unlocked this same outfit for Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3, and that's the only outfit I ever use because it's just the best one. You are also able to unlock Jeanne as a playable character after playing her side game, in which she has to astral project her soul to save Cereza, who is in grave danger. The boss in her game is actually the same boss that we fight in Bayonetta 3. It's really nice that they're so connected. So, while fighting the Affirmer of Phenomena, Jeanne sees a vision of her future, and those that have played Bayonetta 3 know that future is quite bleak. The enemy tells Jeanne that if she keeps trying to save Cereza, that this future will be set in stone. And Jeanne tells him to fuck right off and saves Cereza anyway, because Jeanne is the realest, most ride-or-die friend.
Work, Diva. Yeah, they say slay. Honey, you better work and let him know, Diva.
And what really gets me is that this implies that in Bayonetta 3, Jeanne knew what awaited her, and yet she always stayed by Bayonetta's side. We stan. Her outfit as an apprentice is also super cute. She gets to fight alongside Cheshire also, except that she calls him Charles because she has her own stuffed animal that she carries around with that name. Except since Jeanne is one of the higher status witches, her stuffed animal was bought at a Richie Rich toy store, whereas the outcast Cereza's stuffy was made by her mom in jail. All in all, I really enjoyed this game and will keep enjoying it as I have not unlocked all of the outfits yet. I'm really taking my sweet time with that. Also, something y'all may not know about me is I love dolls. I love watching doll repaints, and I myself collect dolls to maybe someday repaint. One day, I randomly decided that I wanted to make my own Cereza doll. This is what I have so far. I took an Alice in Wonderland doll from the Disney store, and I took off her paint, then I repainted the face, and I snatched her wig. Then I made her a wig out of acrylic yarn that I combed out and I straightened. This hair took me a good minute to get right, but damn it, I did that. Right now, I'm trying to get the motivation to finish her clothes. So far, all I have are the fabrics that I want to use and some mock-ups that I made to test my patterns. I truly respect anyone who does doll customization or just clothes patterning in general, because how? How do they stay motivated to get it all done? Poor Cereza here has been in the back burner for a while. I was a different person when I started to customize Cereza. My point is that I feel that I need a bit more discipline in my life, and I need to follow through on my personal projects. So if anyone has any advice, please tell me. Same thing happened with this drawing. It took me a hell of a time to finish it. I do love the end result though. I really tried my best to make Cheshire look like he was made out of a rough, burlappy fabric. I just don't think that Cereza's mom Rosa would have access to soft materials from jail, so I chose to make him look like burlap. Also, I gave him all these obvious and pronounced stitches. I like how they look aesthetically, and it's in no way, shape, or form meant to be a comment on Rosa's seamstressing, okay? I will say that I should have made the two colored fabrics that he's made from a bit more pronounced. He kind of looks like he's all the same color, whereas in the game he actually looks like he's patched up together from different materials. For Cereza, I really wanted to give her kind of a worried expression to represent how she was so scared in the beginning of the game. I like how she turned out. Looking at her now, months after finishing this, she does look a little bit unproportional, I think. It's okay though, because Bayonetta has never looked like a proportional human, you know? They asked her to be on the cover of Vogue, but her legs were too long. I didn't put too much work into the background. I wanted Cheshire and Cereza to be the focal points here. So I just made it look vaguely like Avalon Forest. We got a misty atmosphere and some trees to represent that. And here is the final product. I was really onto something when I drew this one. I procrastinated a lot, but every time that I worked on it, I hyper-focused so much. I also made a second version of this painting in which Cereza has a more determined kind of smiley face, and she has short hair to represent Cereza after the events of the game. I also show how Cheshire's paw is now wrapped with her hair and ribbon just like in the game. It's the duality of Cereza. Thank you for watching and listening to my nonsense. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I truly love making these speed paints. I hope y'all stay safe out there. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll catch you on the flippity flip.